Unlike most shows from the early 2000s, the Avatar the Last Airbender franchise is a gift that keeps on giving. Minus the Shyamalan film, of course. Jokes aside, this year, it not only has a Netflix live-action series in the works, but it's also going to bless fans with an open-world RPG called Avatar Generations. Since there's still time till its release, here's a list of ATLA games for you to while away the hours. First up, Avatar the Last Airbender Bobble Battles. While we agree that this game and its chibi art style might not be everyone's cup of tea, it's still one of the best games to come out of the franchise. For anyone that disagrees, hear us out. Bobble Battles is a strategy game that not only allows you to experience some of the most memorable events from the show, for instance, the Siege of the Northern Water Tribe, it also has a range of playable characters including the Kyoshi Warriors, Iroh, and even Zuko. The said characters become available as you proceed through the 18 different levels. Speaking of, the game has 4 parts, with the first 3 divided into 6 stages each. You must keep in mind that depending on the event, you can only play as the protagonists and won't have control of the enemy forces. That being said, you'll have to build several forts and get to command different armies. Another interesting thing about the game is that each level refers to an episode from the show. By a similar token, 3 of the 4 parts or campaigns are named after the books as well. One of the levels, for example, is called The Water Scroll and is part of Book 1, Water. Do the names ring a bell? Exactly. Anyway, the 4th part, called Timeline, is a compilation of all the levels, arranged to match their sequence in the series. Now, as far as its availability goes, it's mainly a PC game, but it's also available on both iOS and Android. To top it all off, it's only around $8. Then, Avatar the Last Airbender. Released in 2006, this video game directly begins with the Siege of the Northern Water Tribe. The events preceding the siege are narrated by Katara in the form of an overview. Now, unlike Bobble Battles, it only has 4 playable characters, i.e. Sokka, Katara, Aang, and Haru. You might remember Haru from the episode titled Imprisoned, but since the game loosely follows the series, you can expect his storyline to be a little different. Anywho, before we explain what these characters get down to, let's say that while the art style is certainly an improvement on Bobble Battles. Okay, now that the art style is out of the way, here's what the gameplay offers. Basically, your character, since it's a single-player adventure, will be able to use their trademark weapons and fighting styles. To boot, they'll be able to level up by defeating enemies. It also allows you to collect a variety of items like healing potions, armor, chi, etc. via side quests. Better yet, the characters can take certain items to artisans to get special ones made. In case you're the type of gamer who invests in games based on their bosses, fret not. This one has a wide variety of them, including everything from humans to machines and animals. The machines are, understandably, a result of Lian, an inventor in the service of the Fire Nation, being the prime antagonist. If these bosses have colored you intrigued, you can play the game on a range of platforms. These include, but aren't limited to, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, Wii, and Xbox. Now, Avatar the Last Airbender The Burning Earth. This game may be a sequel to the last one, but it differs from it on multiple grounds. First things first, it's based, again loosely, on the second book. This is why you'll primarily be traversing through the Earth Kingdom, so in a way, it picks up where the last game left off. Besides that, instead of being a single-player adventure, you'll notice that it allows multiplayer mode. Not just that, you can now play as 9 different characters including Toph and the animal allies like Appa and Momo. The most mind-blowing thing about the gameplay is that it permits Aang to go into the Avatar state and display all of his powers. What's more, unlike some of the other ATLA games, it allows players to experience all 4 kinds of bendings. As for its art style, it also departs from the original. So to speak, cel-shaded animation has been abandoned in favor of a more natural solid shading. Finally, it's available on the Xbox 360, Wii, GameCube, as well as the PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, Nintendo DS, and Game Boy Advance. Before we move on, remember that some of the content differs from console to console. This means that a few of the bosses and mini-games that are available on a DS aren't accessible on a PSP. Similarly, Avatar The Last Airbender Into the Inferno. Yep, you guessed it, we've brought you yet another sequel. In this one, you'll get to play as various members of the gang, only they're disguised as Fire Nation locals. Now, unlike its predecessors, the gameplay follows the show more closely. Another plus point is that you're allowed to play both regular levels and those dedicated to the bosses. And these aren't just any bosses, mind you. We're talking about Firelord Ozai, Combustion Man, and Azula. Similarly, there are a bunch of flying levels in which players can explore the Avatar world using Aang's glider. In spite of these differences, one thing remains unchanged. For example, for different platforms, the levels differ largely. So if you're on a DS, levels like Into the Inferno won't be available available to you, and vice versa. Similarly, the animation style varies slightly, and a few of the combat moves will also be absent based on your medium. Moving on to Avatar the Last Airbender, The Path of Zuko. Zuko fans, please gather around. This game is right up your alley. Why, you ask? Well, because you'll get to play the events of the third book entirely from Zuzu's perspective. Now, since it's a puzzle-style game, keep in mind that besides firebending, you'll also have to solve several puzzles to be able to unlock more content. The content being a total of 7 missions where your favorite will have to collect certain items and navigate mazes. Sadly, the game's art style is again the chibi type, but hey, a horrible animation is a small price to pay for a chance to play your childhood sweetheart, right? If you can't wait to dig your teeth into this one, quickly hop on your Mac or PC and download it. Finally, Hangman. Do you recall going on various gaming sites as a kid? What about playing Hangman at school or during a family night? Well, this pick will allow you to relive the excitement of both of these experiences. On top of that, it's an additional interesting twist on an otherwise traditional children's game. To elaborate, your goal is to guess a word correctly by selecting different letters. Classic format. However, instead of a stick figure, you've Aang being fire blasted by Zuko for each incorrect guess. After 8 or so wrong guesses, the game ends, allowing you to start over. But in case you win, Aang ends up averting the fire blast and you get to guess another word. If you're a fan of the simpler things in life, you can find this game on nick.com for free. We get that it's pretty simple compared to the others, but come on, it's Hangman. How difficult can one make it? While you're on nick.com, you can browse the website for more ATLA games like this one. Honorable mention, the board games. If you're just as big on board games as you are on video games, you need to purchase these Avatar ones. Our first pick is the Oh My Cabbages board game. Any guesses as to what its theme might be? Yep, you're right, establishing your own cabbage empire. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, it's not. Unless you're an expert at stealing your opponent's coins, convincing security platypus bears to sabotage their stands, or quick to master all 4 elements, remember that you'll have to all do this while also yelling, "Oh my cabbages," from time to time. The game requires 2 to 6 players and takes between 30 to 90 minutes to conclude. As far as the characters are concerned, you can play as several members of the gang, as well as the OG Cabbage Man. The second tabletop game that we'd like you to check out is Uncle Iroh's Dream board game. If you're into storytelling, you'll be obsessed with it in no time. To elaborate, it allows you to craft stories for a number of different characters from ATLA. That too is based on Uncle Iroh's advice. Just like the last board game, it can also be played by a large number of people. However, it takes only as little as 15 minutes for a single game to conclude. The best thing about it is that you can save the stories that you've told as mementos. What's more, it comes with several interesting items like Iroh's White Lotus tile and Appa tokens to make the game more engaging. Both of these games are available for purchase on websites like Board Game Geek. You can thank us later. That's a wrap for this video. Have you played any of these video or board games before? What are your expectations for the upcoming one? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.